Alright, hello everyone, welcome back. It's been a good while. As I do, I like to take my breaks, work on other things, but today I was inspired by a picture that I actually saw a couple weeks back, and it's the thumbnail for this video. And if you're not looking at it right now, which you're probably not because you're looking at me, the picture is a man that is on the bottom and he's digging for diamonds. He's mining, he's chipping away, and just before he gets there, he gives up. And there's a guy right above him that's doing the same thing. He's further back, but he's continuing to go because he knows those diamonds are there. He knows the diamonds are there, and he hasn't found them yet, but he'll find them. He's just got to keep picking away. And the guy on the bottom obviously gives up. He is so close, so close. Just chipping a little bit more, he would have gotten it. And he stops and turns around, and he probably feels like he wasted a lot of time. He had a goal, and he knew that the diamonds were at the end of that tunnel, or at least he thought, and they were, but he gave up before he had the chance to find them. And I think it's the perfect representation of what we want and our goals and all that, and how we know they're there. We know they're at the end. We know success is at the end of that tunnel, the end of that mine shaft, and we're picking away at it. And it takes a long time. This is something that I've had to remind myself lately, because even though I come on to this channel, I go onto podcasts, I write articles, I write books about this stuff, I still struggle with it. And that's why seeing pictures like this is really good for me, and why I'm inspired to make a video, because someone out there is probably seeing this and like, oh, I know, I just needed that push because I forgot too that it takes time. I mean, that guy on the bottom was probably chipping away for years, maybe decades. And the guy on the top that's a little bit further behind, probably about the same. And that's what life is. Life is just chipping away day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, year by year. We just continue to go at it. And there was something else a little bit different, but kind of the same thing, that James Clear wrote in Atomic Habits, which is a great book if you guys haven't read it. And I don't know if this was the book that started the idea of improving yourself 1% every day. It's kind of becoming a popular thing over the past few years. And I don't know if he was the one that made it popular or if someone else did, but the idea of just 1% every day, it seems so small, but over time, by the end of the year, you're almost four times better than you were, when you started the year, just by improving 1% every day. And he had something in the book that said something along the lines of, if you divide your attention up too much, you're just gonna dig a bunch of shallow holes. You're gonna have like 10 shallow 1 foot holes that you never really made a bunch of progress in either of them. And you could, or you could just dig one, and you could get really deep, and those 10 1 foot holes would end up being one 10 foot hole. And what's at the bottom of that 10 foot hole? Maybe it's those diamonds. And I think that is something that's really important to keep in mind. And sometimes the 10 foot hole may have nothing. Maybe you got to go another 10 feet. But maybe you just need to go another 1 foot. So I think that is something that's important to keep in mind. And I don't know if I just went completely off the rails of what I was supposed to say, but I do that a lot. That was, it's something I think about a lot, that we just have to keep chipping away at what we're doing. And the reason I said I need to remind myself of this is because on Medium lately, which I've talked about Medium on this channel before, it's a self-publishing website that I write on 10 times a month at least. Lately I've been trying to do more. This month I hope to do more than that. But I've gotten to a point, it's coming up on a year since I started really going at Medium. I've been writing on Medium since 2016, I believe. But the vast majority of my articles have come over the past year because back in September, I just started going in. I think September I wrote like 20 plus articles, and I've done that a few times, but lately I've cut it back because I've had some other things to worry about. But um, that has been an area where I've seen a lot of growth. The beginning months, I I think my first check was $3.49, and I'm at a point now where I pretty much make $5 a day. So you can do the math if you want to figure out how much I'm making. But the past couple months, I've been making about $5 a day, and it's gotten a little stagnant because it's been like this for a few months now. And I want to take that next step where maybe I'm making $7 a day, or 10. And I know I'm going to get to that point, but I want it now, right? Because it's been 3 months of the same. And this is why it's important to think about where you came from and be a little grateful, because in the quest I have now to make $7 to $10 a day off my writing, I completely forget that I was making that same amount per month a year ago. A year is not that long of a time. And I've seen that much growth in a year. So the $7 to $10 a month I want to make is most certainly going to come within the next year, but I want it now, and that's something I think is so tough to overcome in humans. Is we want everything now, and in that quest for our goals, we forget that the slow growth we've had up to this point over the past 1, 5, 10 years is what got us to this point. And it coming so slowly allowed us to learn so much about the process. It allowed us to learn so much about ourselves, and it allowed us to get better. And it also allowed us to kind of become humble, because I think it's really easy to kind of become arrogant about something and about yourself when you achieve something so quickly. Like, imagine a guy or a girl starts playing basketball in like high school, and 4 years later or 6 years later, they're in the NBA, or like just a couple years after they started playing, they're playing for a really good college. I think that's something like that's an example of something that you could become so arrogant because you didn't really have to wait. You had to grind for sure, but it wasn't necessarily handed to you, but it came so easy. There's been people that have played basketball since they were a little kid and they didn't get to the NBA, or they didn't get to that really good college. And I almost think it's better to not get the goal than to get it handed to you quickly, because if you get it handed to you quickly, you think you can do everything. Everything's going to come easy to you. And I guess the confidence is good. I think confidence is the one good thing with arrogance, but you can become too confident. And at that point, I think it's really easy to fall, because you're so used to winning that when you lose, it like crushes you. So I think that's one of the benefits of slow growth is that you lose over time. You get used to losing, you get used to not getting what you want, and you just become okay with it. And Medium, for example, is a place that, again, I've been working on that platform for 11 months, and I've grown my income from $3 a month to $5 a day. And that's something that's going to continue to grow. And if I got so frustrated that I wasn't getting where I want to be down the line now, and I gave up when those diamonds could have been right on the other side of that wall, what was it all for? For me to just give up. So that's something that I think is really important to remember, and I think that's why that picture is so awesome, because it's a perfect showcase of what we're leaving behind when we quit. So, and that kind of leads me into my outro, which I didn't plan to do it this way, but I have a new book, No Pressure, Finding Happiness in a Fear-Driven World, available on Amazon, paperback and ebook. I almost said paperback and e-back. Um, and that link will be in the description. And what I wanted to say about that was I've been struggling to sell books. The first book I wrote, From One Young Soul to Another, it did decent. Like it did. I really shouldn't have had. It probably did better than I expected. I don't think I had expectations for it, but I'm gonna say it did better than I expected. And I think a lot of that was the fact that the people in my life, my friends and family, were like, "Wow, he wrote a book. That's crazy. I didn't think he could write a book. I didn't think he would write a book." Because it was something I didn't really tell people about. I didn't even tell my parents I was writing it until I was almost done. It was like kind of a surprise thing that I attacked it and I went at it and I didn't tell anyone anything until it was almost done. And most of the people didn't find out until it was published. So that book sold fairly well. Like for a first book, and I have a fairly limited circle of people that care about my writing, I think it did well. I had people that bought that I didn't expect to buy it, so it was great. And I came into this book, I had low expectations actually, because I actually knew that people were going to look at it differently because I had already written a book. I knew that the shock factor was gone. People didn't really care that I wrote a book because I had already done it. It wasn't some crazy new thing that I did. It was the same thing. It was just a different book. So I knew that it wouldn't do as well. And it's still like, within 2 weeks of publishing. So I don't care. I don't write to make money right now, at least. I don't write the books to make money. I don't write, you know, I write for me. And I don't write to sell books. Again, I would love to sell books. But I also have to look at the long term and say, I'm 23. I have no credibility. I'm a good writer. I like to think that I have knowledge in some areas, but I'm 23. People don't care about what a 23-year-old has to say. And that's something that I'm okay with. That's something I recognize. I know a lot of people that are successful authors either carry a platform with them, so people like them and they were going to buy the book because they like them, they like what they have to say. I mean, look at all the famous people that write books. It's easy money. People love them. They have hundreds of thousands, millions of followers already, even just tens of thousands. It's you have an audience. You have people that like you, and everything you do, they're gonna buy it up. I don't have that because I'm a 23-year-old idiot, and that's something that I'm fine with. A lot of, and what I was gonna finish was a lot of other authors that aren't necessarily famous, they are older and they have credibility. Like maybe they're a writer for the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. They have a backing and they have the ability to get media appearances. Like I'm reading a book, Power Play by Tim Higgins, who's a Wall Street Journal writer. About the book's about Tesla, and I found out about the book because he was interviewed on CNBC. I don't have access to CNBC. He has access because he's a Wall Street Journal reporter. So he has the credibility. And a lot of these other people, they have some sort of credibility. I don't have credibility. I make $5 a day on Medium. That's not much credibility. I have 1,000 Twitter followers. That's not much credibility. So I'm fine with that. And that's something that is important to keep in mind. It's good to set low expectations for yourself anyway. As far as like sales of anything especially, or numbers of any kind, because you're relying on other people and other people don't always recognize the greatness in something. And I'm not trying to say my books are great. I like them, but people aren't always going to know. And I could give up because this book has done terribly so far. I could say screw it, I'm not going to write any more books because if they're not going to sell, then whatever. But what if that next book is the diamonds, What if that next book is the diamonds and it sells great, and maybe that helps me sell these books more And maybe that sets me up for the next books where I have the credibility. And people are like, oh, wow, he wrote that book. He must be able to write a good book. So I'm going to buy the next one too. And I'll buy the ones he already wrote before this. So it's just something to keep in mind that you just got to keep chipping away. And what you want is never going to come easily. And you should be thankful for that. Because if it came easily, then you wouldn't really, I don't think you would feel like you earned it much. It wouldn't feel like you had to work hard for it, and it would give you that arrogance that would set you up for failure for the next venture. So be thankful for a failure. Be thankful for not selling books. Be thankful for things coming slowly, because it's all going to come. You just have to keep mining, keep picking at that dirt, and hope that the diamonds are on the other side, because they're going to be there eventually. And the more you pick, if you pick a 1% of it away every day, you're eventually going to get to it. But it could take time. And if you're like me and you're just a 20-year-old kid that has no credibility, you can't expect to win right away. You can't expect to win now, next year, the next 2 years, but you will start to see slow things come to you. You will start to see a little bit more recognition from people that do have credibility, and those are the opportunities to set you up. So thank you for coming back, even though I don't come back very often. And I will be back, but I just have to see another picture to inspire me, I guess. So thank you. Have a great night, and set your expectations low, and keep picking. See you later.